Morning.
A Nina player just won EVO. I finally joined the ranks of the Tekken Elite myself, and I just finished routing and speedrunning her spin-off game for Games Done Quick. You could say I'm having a Nina Williams kind of summer.
You must be joking.
So naturally, I ended up watching a bunch of her cutscenes from every Tekken game, perusing the wikis about all of her plot lines, and I decided that she and her spin-off game both deserved their own video. From her story in the Tekken lore to the murky depths of Death by Degrees. Capped off by a summary of the speedrun of that game and how I found out why no one wanted to speedrun it before.
Prepare the SWAT team. I'm going in.
About 6 years ago at AGDQ in Herndon, Virginia, a group of friends and I heard whispers of a retro game store that was near the hotel, E-Starland. And when we walked in, we understood why speedrun nerds were as excited as they were about this place. It's a veritable treasure trove of retro games, all laying out like an old record shop, with multiple copies of games you've never heard of. While flipping through their collection of PS2 games, I came across a copy of Tekken's Nina Williams in Death by Degrees. I thought the name was funny because it was so long-winded, and rated M for mature? It was quite appealing. A quick search online showed that it was also a poorly reviewed PS2 exclusive and no recorded speedruns. So I bought it for like $4. Now 6 years later, here we are. But before we can fully appreciate Death by Degrees and all its layers, we must first learn about who Nina is and what makes her tick. She was one of the original fighters in Tekken, the silent assassin with outstanding fighting sense. Only a few characters have been playable in every main entry in the Tekken series, excluding those who died in the lore and were replaced by clone fighters. The real all-timers are Yoshimitsu, Paul Phoenix, and Nina Williams. This is one of the many reasons why she's the undisputed queen of Tekken. Also, if you're interested in the story of Yoshimitsu, check out my video in the description after this. Nina and her sister Anna were trained by both their parents. Their mother, a British Aikido champion, taught them self-defense, and their father, a former assassin for the Irish Republican Army, trained them in Kappo, a martial art that specializes in breaking bones. Nina excelled in her training and was favored by their father for her career choice to become an assassin in his footsteps. She's a cool-headed and callous individual who's always driven to achieve her goals no matter the cost. She became a contract killer by the age of 20.
Williams is a killer.
She doesn't look too dangerous.
She's literally a hired killer. That's what she does for a living.
Anna also became an exceptional fighter, but she lived in Nina's shadow. Anna sought their father's approval but never received it, contributing to what would be a lifelong sibling rivalry between these sisters. Anna is far more sociable, dramatic, and flirtatious than Nina. Their contrasting personalities fueled their feud, usually ending up with Nina bullying Anna in any way she can. When the time came for the King of Iron Fist tournament, Nina was hired by an unknown client to assassinate Heihachi Mishima, the head of the Mishima Zaibatsu, but her mission ended in failure. After the tournament, their father pleaded with Nina to make peace with Anna once and for all. He knew the depths of hatred and evil Nina had within her, so he wanted to make things right before his passing. But Nina just couldn't bring herself to comply and make friends with Anna. Soon afterward, their father died under mysterious circumstances. Both sisters accused each other of being responsible, and their sibling rivalry quickly turned violent. 2 years later, Nina received a contract to assassinate Kazuya Mishima, the new head of the Mishima Zaibatsu.
This time you will die.
It's that dream again. Something dark is growing inside of me. A sinister feeling scratching and clawing to get out. What is that feeling?
I wish she'd killed Kazuya for you and then been killed along with him.
Well, well, your love for your sister is truly heartwarming.
She entered the King of Iron Fist tournament too, and although her mission was to kill Kazuya, her personal agenda was to settle the score with Anna.
You'll be excellent practice before I take care of Kazuya.
You've looked down on me my entire life, haven't you? Our father always loved you better. From the beginning, he considered me an irritating burden.
You're the one who did it, aren't you, Anna? You killed our father.
You'll pay for that!
When the two finally met in battle, Kazuya's forces captured them both and put them into a cryogenic sleep experiment for 15 years. Many years later, the Mishima Zaibatsu digs up Ogre, an ancient fighter god from space. Ogre called out telepathically to Earth's greatest fighters, intending to absorb their powers. Nina and Anna woke up from cryosleep, though Nina had memory loss. Eventually, Ogre possessed Nina and tells her that she needs to kill Jin Kazuma, the son of Kazuya and Jun, and the greatest threat to Ogre. In an act of compassion, Anna sets out to stop Nina from this mission and attempts to help her regain her memories. After many failed attempts to do so, Anna takes Nina to their father's grave, when suddenly Nina recalls her lifelong feud with Anna. Nina would continue her career of assassination, since it's the only thing she remembers doing. She eventually discovered that one of her targets, Steve Fox, was created in a lab using the genetics of a legendary boxer and her own genetic material.
Please! Please! Look out!
Thanks.
Heihachi had his scientists use Nina's body through in vitro fertilization to create several children as super soldiers for his Tekken force. In Tekken 5, Nina, seeking to regain her lost memories, reached out to Anna to meet up. But the sight of Anna reminded Nina of their hostile history. Their intense gunfight lasted for days, ending without a decisive winner. They ultimately agreed to settle their score in the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5.
So who do you work for?
I have no client at the moment. Who are you?
I have no name. Some call me Raven, the dark talon of death.
This time I will kill you.
You don't learn, do you? Well, come on then.
Do as you wish.
Anna, you're pathetic. That didn't satisfy me at all. I refuse to kill you.
You bitch!
Oh, that look is priceless.
After Nina delivers Anna an embarrassing defeat, A movie producer brings the idea to Nina to star in a feature film inspired by their sibling rivalry. But as usual, Nina gets the last laugh. Nina would later be hired by Jin, the new CEO of the Mishima Zaibatsu. At this point in the story, Jin started a world war in order to bait out an ancient devil, Azazel, into his physical form. He thought if he could kill it, then he might get rid of his devil gene. Nina was aware of Jin's reasons for starting this war, but really the only thing she cared about was doing her job and getting paid. Any world-ending scenario is just like whatever to her. So she enters the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6 to eliminate potential threats to Jin. Meanwhile, Anna becomes a bodyguard for Kazuya, Jin's father and enemy, over at G Corporation, hoping she'd run into Nina for a chance at revenge. Despite their ongoing rivalry and the world war going on outside, they somehow retain some semblance of a normal relationship, usually when it involved hurting boys.
Wow.
In Tekken 7, after Jin's battle with Azazel, he disappears into the desert. Nina became the interim leader of the Zaibatsu for like a day before Heihachi returned to reclaim it. He rehired Nina as second in command. She was getting a little sick of the Mishima drama, but she begrudgingly accepted. During Heihachi's search for Jin, Nina prepared a SWAT team of Tekken Force soldiers and stormed the compound where Jin was being held.
Acquire the target. Be quick. Not so fast.
Jin は確かに受け取ったよ。それでは諸君、いい夢を。
Nina used her supposed death as an opportunity to leave the Zaibatsu and return to her assassin-for-hire roots. She took work from a client to infiltrate a mafia wedding, which happened to be held by G Corporation. The bride-to-be was Anna. Nina stole Anna's dress, took her place, and killed Anna's groom, completing her contract. Nina ditched the scene and was pursued by Anna, G Corporation, and somehow Steve Fox.
My earliest memory is of a Mishima Zaibatsu laboratory. I don't even know who my parents are. The only one I remember is Dr. Kleeser. She was always nice to me. I infiltrated the Mishima Zaibatsu, and for several years siphoned out intel. Your name did come up, time and time again. So tell me, what's your connection to the lab? To me?
Those labs were used by the Mishima Zaibatsu to create super soldiers. Their goal was to physically and genetically engineer the ultimate soldier. Of course, it all ended in failure. But judging by your left arm, you must be one of the survivors. At the time, the Mishima Zaibatsu had captured me and forced me into cryosleep. It's only recently that I discovered my genes were used in their experiments.
Wait, so does that mean you are my mother?
Don't get the wrong idea. You'll never be my son. I couldn't care less about you. If anything, you're a thorn in my side.
Get out of here. I'll take care of this.
In Tekken 8, in this tournament, the losers' countries are destroyed. So when Nina was hired by Kazuya, she worked for the Devil, and Kazuya had Nina complete multiple tasks. First off, she helped Kazuya track down Zafina, so he could take the power of the original Devil, Azazel, from her left arm, becoming true Devil Kazuya. She also scouted and collected fighters from the tournament to join G Corporation as they were preparing to fight the rebel army. These fighters included Azucena, Law, and Fang.
You're not getting away. Die in silence.
KO.
Goodbye.
And during the final battle against the rebel army, she helped deploy G-Corp's suppression weapon, Jack 8. But after the rebels overwhelmed G-Corp's forces and she successfully deployed Jack 8, Nina considered her contract fulfilled.
My job with G Corporation is finished. I'm done here.
どうだ私の下で働かないか
I'm willing to negotiate. If it's after my vacation.
What わざわざ私を呼び出すとは一体どのようなご用件かな。
That was for blowing up the whole building. Consider us even now.
So in review of Nina Williams, she has extreme discipline and natural talent. She's an assassin for hire, sadistic and ruthless, she lacks empathy, doesn't care who she works for as long as they pay up, and she loves to torture her sister Anna. So if she were to feature in her own game, what would that look like?
Nina Williams, fight!
This is Tekken 3. Specifically, it's a minigame mode called Tekken Force. This minigame was expanded on in Tekken 4 and taken to a new level in Tekken 5's Devil Within mode, starring Jin Kazama in his devil form. But this action-adventure minigame was just a warm-up for a much larger project. NAMCO decided that they would select a single character to build a full standalone game around, in a similar vein to Mortal Kombat Mythology's Sub-Zero. Some think Nina was chosen because NAMCO thought it was their most popular character at the time, which is possible. She fits the spy archetype like a Snake or Raiden. She could be a survivor female protagonist solving puzzles like Jill Valentine. Or in IGN's words from 2003, she's pretty hot and now she's getting her own game. And so the working title became Project Nina. The game likely began development in 2003, and it was made during a critical time for NAMCO. The company was going through a financial decline and restructuring process. They were one of many companies struggling during the Japanese recession from the 90s that persisted into the 2000s. So this was no small throwaway project. The game even has more credited developers than Metal Gear Solid 2. "10 trillion tons of mayhem. The ultimate assassin. Legally distinct Benicio del Toro. Trust no one." The project was later renamed to Death by Degrees, which referenced multiple themes in the game. Nina would kill people with a 360-degree fighting system. People dying in extreme hot or cold conditions is one of the main themes of the story, with a super weapon that causes global warming and Nina's flashbacks to when her father died in the snow. There would even be a Metal Gear 2 style puzzle that involved an item that you had to take to hot and cold locations. The decision to make Nina fight in multiple directions was inspired by classic kung fu films, where people could fight and counter others in multiple directions all at once, similar to Jet Li's Rise to Honor. There's also an X-ray damage system anytime you use a critical attack, very much a trend that was growing in the 2000s at the time, and the gameplay would give Nina not just her classic moves, but also plenty of melee weapons and guns. And when you weren't in combat, Nina would solve puzzles, similar to Resident Evil, find consumable items like meal kits for HP, water bottles to raise your crit meter, essential oils for temporary buffs, and even permanent upgrades like being able to hold more weapons at once. There would also be some minigame modes, like sniper segments and Stingray drone levels. Tekken's Nina Williams and Death by Degrees released in January of 2005, celebrating the 50th anniversary of NAMCO. It was a multinational release that was featured in numerous gaming magazines and websites at the time.
Death by Degrees.
There was even a 2-disc soundtrack released in Japan that spring, I guess to cruise around town listening to Emergency 2. Unfortunately, the reception for this game was not so great. Many fans and critics cited some major issues. Extensive load times, awkward camera angles, a clunky menu. The analog stick fighting made it hard for some people to enjoy using all of Nina's skills, and that's if you took the time to grind the experience to unlock all of her skills. Also, the 360-degree combat is more like an 8-directional system that doesn't always hit where you're aiming at. Melee weapons also have durability and break. Guns are just discarded when you run out of ammo. There's an optional fingerprint system that you can scan to get extra items, but when you get to a locker room that you can try these out at, you have to scan every locker so slowly. With Death by Degrees, it's like Death of 1,000 Cuts with these issues. But while this game is rough and it hasn't aged well, I didn't think it was all bad. Having all her skills unlocked is actually pretty fun to play with. The story and cutscenes are fun to watch even if they get silly or cheesy at times.
Not a bad view.
Spy vibes on a boat is a really fun adventure setting. And just generally, there are numerous inspirations from PlayStation classics, like the fact that there's a hexagonal crank as a key item, right? But that's the only crank in the game. The fact that it's hexagonal is inconsequential. But you know, Resident Evil has multiple shaped crank handles, so here you go.
Thanks. You're pretty good.
There's also a fair amount of replayability. You know, if this is one of the only games you had for the PS2, there's a hard and expert difficulty setting. You can unlock concept art in the Stingray and Honeycomb puzzle modes. There's a separate mode where you can play as Anna, which unlocks Heihachi as an optional final boss in the main game. And you can unlock additional costumes and bonus items for New Game Plus. The same year that Death by Degrees released, 2005, is when Namco merged with Bandai, making Death by Degrees one of the last purely Namco-made games. It's the first and only Tekken spin-off game as well. It's also the only Tekken game with a mature rating, although nothing really warrants that mature rating other than some blood. Kinda makes me think that they were maybe trying to trick people with a mature Nina Williams game. Like, oh man, I can't wait to see Nina's sweet video game body. I mean, you do, but not in like a GTA kind of way. So despite being critically panned, it still has a cult following, mostly by people who played the game when they were very young or just love Nina Williams. Death by Degrees is non-canon, but still takes place a couple years before the first Tekken. It takes place at the time of the dissolution of the Soviet Union. A leaked video on the early internet showed a ship exploding in the Bermuda Triangle.
The Bermuda Triangle. The Devil's Sea.
The ship was owned by Komita, a notorious criminal organization, and it's feared that they're working on some kind of superweapon. Nina Williams, world-renowned assassin, has been hired by the CIA to work in a joint operation with 2 agents from MI6 to infiltrate Komita and find out what they're up to. The team of 3 have a strategy that involves boarding the Amphitrite, a luxury cruise ship owned by Komita, with Nina infiltrating as a competitor in an underground, or over-water, tournament, while the other agents, John Doe and Alan Smithy, sneak on board. Nina's role is that she's the sweeper agent. If her team fails, then she has to activate to finish the job. Which, as a side note, I think they meant sleeper, because sweeper just isn't a thing outside of this game, and her job is exactly that of a sleeper agent. So maybe it's a localization quirk.
But if the time comes, we'll be counting on you, sweeper.
But sweeper still sounds kind of cool. I mean, Nina was a sweep for 15 years after all.
Williams, we've got a code red. The plan has changed. I need you to go to work.
When Nina's captured and receives a communication from Alan that their mission has failed, Nina has to fight her way through Komita's forces, exposing the truth behind all its criminal activities. She fights some of the organization's top executives, including Bryce, who has pink hair and infinite chest pistols, Lana Ley, who uses poisons to torture people and make Nina hallucinate during battles, and legally distinct Benicio del Toro. Enrique. Nina barely escapes the cruise ship with her life.
Who is this woman?
And is taken to a prison on Komita's private island for interrogation. When she breaks out and explores the prison,
I just broke out of the cell. The room service was really bad.
She meets a man named Lucas Hayes.
Hey, did you see my video on the net? Who are you with? Whatever.
He's a scientist who tells her about the superweapon that they're working on and how he helped build it, called Salacia. Salacia is a series of satellites all over the globe. They're capable of heating up something on the ocean floor called methane hydrate. What results is a massive release of gaseous energy, causing bubbling, which causes ships to lose their buoyancy and sink, or just explode.
The rising mass of bubbles carries a magnetic charge that throws off the navigational equipment. Because of that, ships lose their way and sink into the ocean. You've heard of the Bermuda Triangle, haven't you? The stories about the disappearing ships and aircraft? Well, this is the cause behind it.
Salacia also had the capability, if all satellites were activated at once, to raise global temperatures and flood the entire planet. Nina realizes that she might as well stop the project. She almost manages to capture Enrique before Anna jumps in and stops her. As it turns out, the Mishima Zaibatsu is funding Komita, and Anna is working for them along with the Tekken Force.
Nina Williams, 最強のスイーパー。こんなところで会えるとはな。
Nina eventually kills Enrique, but the controls of Salacia fall into the hands of Lana Ley.
Not again.
Nina reconvenes with Alan and escapes the prison island when they're shot down back at the Amphitrite. Nina fights through the boat once again, only this time it's occupied by experimental cyborg warriors. This is another one of Komita's experiments, and they're made with captured agents and assassins, just like Nina.
This one's got some fire in her. She won't be easy to tame.
I'll convert her.
Eventually, Nina finds Lanole and defeats her in the captain's quarters, when Alan Smithy shows up and pulls the double cross on Nina.
Edgar?
Edgar Grant.
That he is the owner of Komita, and he is the one who killed John Doe.
Originally, you were supposed to survive in order to bear witness to my death. It's truly unfortunate it has to end this way.
I'll see you in hell!
Lanole escapes and activates Salacia in a crazy last-ditch effort to just kill everybody.
Everybody dies someday!
And Nina manages to kill her in time. Nina turns off the super weapon, saves the world, and while she tries to escape the exploding amphitrite, Anna stops her for one last battle. Just as Nina has the upper hand, the entire ship explodes. But this time, Nina and Anna seem to be helping each other. At this point, Nina remembers the full scene of her father's death many years ago. Throughout the game, Nina struggles with remembering exactly what happened when her father died in the snow. She finally remembers the last piece of the memory, that Anna was there to comfort her when their father died.
Now what even is this?
So after my casual playthrough a month or so ago, I decided I wanted to route the game. On that note, it's not a game I'd recommend anyone speedrun. For one, it's 3 hours long, assuming everything goes well. This is mostly because of the linear nature of the game. It's really just a loop of getting key items to trigger plot progression events. Out of the 3 hours that it takes to run this game, you will spend nearly 50 minutes sitting on load screens. 1/3 of the run, you are doing nothing. This can maybe be mitigated by having a hard drive PS2 thing with Death by Degrees installed, but even on emulator, load screens are brutal. There's some times in the run where you will go through a load screen, walk down a short hallway, and just go into another load screen door. The movement in this game has a couple nuances to it. First off, it's important to get familiar with the manual camera controls because it avoids the constant fixed camera changes that are happening all throughout the game. And when it comes to running upstairs, it's actually faster to flick the left stick to do a flip up the stairs. Because for some reason, sprinting upstairs is like running on butter for Nina. The fastest movement for short distances is simply sprinting by holding circle, but over medium to longer distances, Nina's dodge forward is optimal. By flicking the left stick in a forward or diagonally forward direction in a certain rhythm, you can achieve a slightly higher speed than sprinting. But you gotta make sure you don't press left or right on accident, because Nina will sidestep and then you'll just lose time compared to if you just sprinted. It kinda looks like a wave dash, but since Nina's a sweeper, I'd like to name this sweeping. And sweeping has an additional benefit than just going fast. When you sprint past enemies, they'll trigger a rubber banding mechanic that makes enemies sprint faster to catch up to you, and even perform a tackle that knocks Nina down. But when you sweep past enemies, not holding sprint, the enemy AI tries to catch up but never actually does that tackle move. It just makes that tech a little bit better. And although we try to skip most enemies as unnecessary, you still need to kill a few packs of enemies for experience points. Now when it comes to boss fights, they're actually a big challenge in the run. Bosses have huge pools of HP, and since you're not wasting time farming XP and weapons, we need careful routing to deal with each boss. Some of them have environmental gimmicks to use, while others just take raw skill to take down. And for those bosses, we route specific weapons to deal with them faster. Here's a boss skip I found that I really love. It's in Nina's first fight with Anna, on this old bridge that's falling apart. If you fall in one of the holes, you die, and it's game over. If Anna falls in, she's scripted to flip right back out as if nothing happened. Until one time I accidentally knocked her into a hole with the Magnum. For some reason, if you have the Magnum and have a precise lineup, the first or final shot will knock Anna into the hole.
You're always picking on me, sis!
This trivializes the most dangerous boss fight in the entire run. Another wrinkle to the speedrun are saves. The game has quite a few instant game over moments, and if you never took the time to save at a CIA checkpoint, you get sent back to the first room in the entire game. You could literally get to the final boss, game over, and then respawn in the first room of the game. Hilarious. So saving your game is not optimal, but it is a viable safety strat. Another safety strat is picking up defibrillators, hands down the best item in the game. When Nina reaches 0 HP, a defib will revive you back to full HP, but also give you full critical gauge. By the end of the game, you'll have enough gauge to do 3 crits all at once, which is a huge amount of damage for the final boss. So if you can manage to save up enough defibrillators, like 4, 5, even 6, you can take damage worry-free to try to speed up what is normally a painfully long fight. As for other items that you want, healing items, water bottles, all the drops are random, so sometimes you'll need to kill a few extra enemies for more meal kits, and your run could be faster or slower depending on if any grenades drop. When it comes to dealing damage, you have to rely on Nina's basic combos, since we don't really have time to farm XP. Critical strikes always do a good chunk of damage, and then there are weapons, but they're all limited in use, so we have to choose when we use them. Railguns are really good for killing Enrique quickly. The second strongest sword in the game, the Ripper Blade, actually stun locks these mini-bosses called J-statues. This means we can perform a really long combo, which nets you tons of XP points near the end of the game. Speaking of skill points, the skills that I actually do unlock in this run are melee proficiency 1, 2, and 3. This makes your weapons lose durability slower, meaning they last longer. This is especially important for the end game because you get 3 Ripper Blades that you want to use on 3 different J statues, and this skill makes it so instead of all of them breaking, you actually keep like 1.5. You also get Yoshimitsu's Manji sword right near the end of the game, and level 3 proficiency keeps that from breaking long enough for you to keep it for the rest of the game pretty much. And that's the strongest sword in the game. All in all, if it weren't for the really long load times, it's a pretty fun and entertaining run. Nina is a badass character. She changes outfits multiple times throughout the story. The Anna boss skip feels amazing when you hit it. The sniper sequences get a little boring, but using weapons and breaking bones is always satisfying. And sweeping looks funny. Alas, it's still a 3-hour speedrun, and it's not the most exciting to watch or even play some of the time. But we went fast, and we did it for Nina. And Anna too, I guess. So if you're interested in running this, don't. Just watch my GDQ run and live vicariously through that. In conclusion, I came out of this Nina Williams phase a new person. Not just because hot Tekken girl go burr. I think there's something charming about the Williams sisters' rivalry that resonates with those of us that have siblings. And Nina's borderline psychotic dedication to her craft is strangely motivating. She's a cool character that we love to see kick ass. And I think I'm more of a Tekken fan now than I was before Death by Degrees. So I guess NAMCO accomplished what they set out to do all those years ago. Remake? Bandai Namco? Thank you for watching till the end. I appreciate it a lot. Let me know what you think of all this, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, as we get closer to that big 100K. Special shoutouts to the patrons who made this video more possible than ever before, including the Master Tier supporters, Aquarial, Haliomorpha, Jordan Rowe, the Avion 12, and Uninvited Haggis. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.
With any luck, we won't need your help. But if the time comes, we'll be counting on you, Sweeper.